Good morning and welcome to SimWorld today, Friday, September 5th. We are joined by Yells. Good morning, Yells. A happy Friday. Glad to get somebody else on this show with me after a week and change of not that. So appreciate everyone's patience on all those things. Two nights in a row, or two mornings rather, in a row that we're in the same place. So that's exciting for me. But anyway, Yells, good morning. How are you?
Pretty good, man. I saw you doing the solo shows. That's a lot like me when I try and go out and have a good time. You get to leave when you want, you show when you want, you move around and do what you want. Things are better solo sometimes. So I understand.
Well, I always appreciate having my co-hosts on because that means I have to talk for like 12 minutes straight. And look, I can talk, but sometimes I like having somebody else to tell me that I'm how right or how wrong I mostly often am.
I know what you
So,
right.
speaking of right or wrong, we've got Yels on for one reason and one reason. It's not because of the Eagles Cowboys that started last night and went well into the early morning because of a rain delay, but rather because of everything going on in the SWBA and specifically around the Los Angeles Clippers, and that's Kawhi Leonard and the investigation and the fantastic reporting. I mean, look, you want to talk about reporting, write down, take notes, folks, on what Pablo Torre has been doing. He exposed the NFLPA, which led to the executive director of the NFLPA resigning. He did a deep cut on the very odd Bill Belichick and Jordan, whatever her last name is, relationship, and now it comes for a third time, and that's with the Kawhi Leonard aspiration drama and the potential salary cap circumvention that is now everywhere around the league, 1 month away from the start of training camp. If you haven't paid attention, quick recap. A company called Aspiration had a bankruptcy filing. This was an environmental organization. One of the creditors listed on their account was $7 million to an LLC called KL2. The manager of that LLC is one Kawhi Leonard. As deeper digging was done, it determined that on initial reporting, $28 million deal was signed with Kawhi Leonard, in which he had to do no-show marketing for this organization. This is a group that had Leonardo DiCaprio, that had Robert Downey Jr., that had Drake as its sponsors or as its spokespeople, as its representatives, whatever you want to call it. All of them had to do posts. Kawhi Leonard did none. The only time he was ever linked to them was with a social post from the Clippers wishing him a happy birthday. Subsequent reporting looks like maybe there was $48 million potentially that was paid to him. And oh, by the way, Steve Ballmer provided the organization $50 million. So now the league is investigating salary cap circumvention. Kawhi Leonard, certainly not a stranger to it. A lot of odd things happened in his 2019 free agency bid. I know I'm talking a lot, but there's a lot to cover here before we let Yells jump in. That led to a $250,000 fine for Steve Ballmer from the league. Now, subsequent investigation going on by the league on the Clippers. That's all I've gotten. That's the dump of everything. Yells, your thoughts.
It's complicated,
It
just
is.
because of I think what the what the implications are for so many people. Like, so let's just be honest for a second. When you're dealing with that level of money, people know how to circumvent whatever needs to be circumvented. It's a part of being a millionaire and a billionaire. In all honesty, that's the shell corporations right there. That's all. That's illegal. But there are ways to evade those things. The same thing with taxes and whatnot. So surely this goes on in different avenues and always has. But the excellent reporting that has been done is really it's going to just, the ripple effect is going to tear the SWBA, the players union, our owners operate apart. If they come to find something or not, I think, generally speaking, these things are well covered up. Not that I'm not advocating for it, not saying that I know that they've occurred, but in business these things occur and they're well traced. That's why you're able to do them. But just the perception of it from the public eye when we've had and correct me if I'm wrong, Marsh. The pro league SWBA is it's the highest paid other than probably baseball. Like the contracts are astronomical.
Yeah.
But in baseball, there's so many more people on a team. In basketball, what's the league minimum now? Like what, 4 mil, something around there.
Yeah, two or
Um,
four.
yeah, it's almost unfathomable that this would come to light, and it's almost just impossible to put into words what I think happens from here because players have said that they need to get paid what they're due. Owners have clamored and complained about the collective bargain agreement and just everything about the finances around the team. Steve Ballmer looks like he may have found a way around it. Him and Kawhi. So what are the future implications from here? All these players that likely took some type of deal. It goes on. Look, there's no need for me to even just continue. It goes on, right? We don't have to prove it. It goes on. You have to find a way to pay guys, whatever it is they're looking for. There's all kinds of negotiation that goes on. To your point, from here, it dims a light on the SWBA. Ballmer, Kawhi Leonard's, you know the perception of what he is as a player. It's kind of stalled out, and he's moved a certain direction. But what he's leaving behind on his way out of the career is something that's going to impact all players in a major way. I don't think it's positive to circumvent the salary cap in that way, but it is going to hurt a lot of people, Marsh. And I think that's there's so many things you say, but that's all that I think about is how many people are going. No one's going to win. No one wins in this scenario.
Yeah, well, you talk about this happens widespread, and I don't think you're completely wrong, but I think there's some. I don't think this happens across the board because
Not to the tune of 48 million.
no,
Okay.
no, players are allowed to sign the contracts that they will. And when Ballmer was initially fined, it was because he was trying to get, or as part of his pitch to DeAndre Jordan at the time, he offered him a sponsorship with Lexus that would have paid Jordan $200,000 annually. So those types of items are certainly ongoing. The where I think this, and I think the league is going to have, and Adam Silver, I think his reputation has kind of fluctuated, and I think his reputation is going to it faces another impasse. Because you mentioned baseball has huge contracts. Baseball doesn't have a salary cap, and baseball also didn't institute a very punitive second apron that teams now have to work their way around, and we're seeing teams like the Boston Celtics tear apart their organization so that they can dip below the second apron. You're looking at teams like the Indiana Pacers, who have always been allergic to paying the luxury tax, let alone aprons, shifting and not re-signing a guy like Miles Turner, who was there for a decade. And so now you have the richest owner. I mean, it's not like this is, a penny pinching owner. This is Steve Ballmer, the guy who built his own stadium because he didn't want to be with the Lakers anymore. The richest owner in the entire league circumventing the salary cap to keep Kawhi Leonard and make this team relevant. And Adam Silver, he passed the first test of his legacy test when he ousted Donald Sterling from the league, from the Clippers. He has subsequently kind of not been super great, right? I mean, there's the China controversy, the Hong Kong controversy, and his response to that, this league, the demands on the players, and, oh, well, no, the players are playing too much and not playing enough, and his commitment to that. And now I think this is a really big impasse because if this is proven to be true, and it's really difficult to look at this reporting and not say, even if you can't find undeniable evidence, there's so much smoke here that if you can't find the fire, once the smoke clears, something's going to be burned down. Whether it's still burning or not, who knows? Something is going on, and if he does not lay a very hard stick, which you could be avoiding of the contract for Kawhi Leonard and a removal of picks on top of a fine. A fine wouldn't matter to a guy like Steve Ballmer, but you have to come down hard on this because what's to stop every other team? I mean, the fact that LeBron James is still signing max deals tells you that this isn't happening on a widespread scale because the guy isn't signing for minimum deals so that, somebody around the Lakers can give him $75 million. What's to stop the rich owners from doing this? And then what's the point of the salary cap at that point? I think there needs to be a strong and resounding response by the league in this case.
where you think about Adam Silver's legacy and how he needs to respond, I'm more so thinking about the implications regardless. So you brought up LeBron taking max deals. What I'm trying to say, Marsh, is even if it's not to the tune of 48 million or large numbers, all teams are jostling, right?
Sure.
What is something we used to not see during trades? We never used to see all trades and financial considerations in it. That wasn't publicized. Those weren't even discussed. It was not supposed to be viewed by the public in that way, and now that's the case. Just this being brought to light changes all of those things and what may happen in the future. And what I say in implications, not only is it going to hurt players as far as what they're able to negotiate and what they're going to attempt to negotiate, this is going to hurt the market value of the league in general, because when you try and put players together, when you circumvent the salary cap or are willing to go over a luxury tax or different things that go on to put a certain number of players on a team to build a championship roster, to bring higher value to your franchise, right? That's what you're trying to do, to bring higher value to the league. When it goes back to being diluted because that's not possible and players are not moving around as much as they were, we go back to the 90s. We go back to the 80s and 90s when players are not moving around. Yes, we love what the SWBA was then, and there's nostalgics then, like, yeah, I love a good 60 to 64 game or what have you, right? Maybe the defense isn't coming back in that way. But what I am saying is part of the excitement around basketball, and you talk about it constantly, is the transactions, the roster movement, the different things, the implications, storylines of a player moving, coming, and going. That is very likely to stall in a much more rapid pace than the direction it has been going with players coming and going, just by the story coming out, because people aren't going to be able to maneuver their money. Big money knows how to move money. Steve Ballmer, $213 billion net worth, right? As you said, the richest of owners still trying to pinch pennies. That says to me the ones that don't have it are still doing something, and now that's going to be scrutinized as they are doged essentially by the league. That is going to change everything.
But it should. I mean, because the it is so difficult right now for the league itself to shed the fixed moniker. The league is everything's fixed. It's like the worst thing in the world was that the league could get Oklahoma City and Indiana, two tiny markets, to meet in the SWBA finals. That wasn't good for the league. But you because it's not New York, it's not LA, it's not Golden State, it's not a marquee city with a marquee player attached to it, and that has plagued the league since the Tim Donahue days. I mean, when your commissioner came in and preempted an FBI investigation, which prevented the what many would believe more or the complete truth from coming out about how widespread the gambling and the fixing of games were. And now you have, this is just another bullet in the chamber for somebody who says, how can I believe what I see on the court is real? How can I believe what I see on the court is authentic and it's actually the best player winning, and it's not just simply the guy that was able to pay the right person the right amount of money? And to think about this, to think that Kawhi Leonard is the only Clipper, in my opinion, like I'm not a conspiracy theorist by nature. I don't think we're batting 1,000 on what we're being told, but I'm not a conspiracy theorist by nature. But I would find it hard to believe that looking at the Los Angeles Clippers, James Harden continues to take team-friendly deals. This was a guy that refused. He forced his way out of Philadelphia because they didn't give him the deal he wants. And suddenly he gets to the Clippers, who, by the way, have a worse tax bracket, so you're taking on less money based off the money you make. And suddenly,
The worst.
it's like, I'm okay with this little bit less money. Like, what are we doing? And you start losing. The whole point of the second apron was so that the league would be more diverse. And I'm not opposed to that. I'm not necessarily a fan of how they implemented it, but everything that's going on in New York and all these Jalen Brunson super duper team friendly deals and how he got to the Knicks, maybe I'm a little more suspect about that. Maybe I'm a little more suspect about every single transaction. And for a league that just signed a $12 million or 12-year billion-dollar, broadcasting rights deal, now I'm starting to question every single transaction. It's not the greatest first step here for Adam Silver and Co.
And to that point, Marsh, like what you're saying with it being under that kind of scrutiny, right? That's why I come back to my point is, Thunder Pacers. lowest rated finals, right? And we say, oh, great, the diversity has been brought back to the teams because of the salary cap. That's the hope, right? But they still made it that far. Who do people still tune into for? And those broadcast deals, the Lakers could be 30 and 50, right?
Doesn't
Tuning
matter.
in to see the Lakers, you
Yeah.
want to see the stars. And what this also suggests is that that's how they're able to team up, right? That's how they're able to take these deals. So the ramifications of that is that we're likely to see less super teams as well. Less from a basketball standpoint. Knicks, OKC, perfectly constructed teams. Excuse me, Pacers, Thunder, perfectly constructed. We could throw the Knicks in there. Small market, Knicks not small market, but they did it rather organically outside of Jalen Brunson, right? That's we say okay,
Well, like
basketball's back.
trade for
Rather,
everybody there, but
rather. But so we say basketball's back because team ball's back, and that's what it is. But these other teams now are not going to be able to have this influx of just throwing stars together, which is going to downgrade the financial viability of anybody wanting to watch them. And then they will also just take deals just to be on some of those teams, which will ruin the continuity of those teams, if you understand what I'm saying. So we go back to that 2010 era where no teams were really good except for maybe one or two because there's just a bunch of guys on teams. And I think from a basketball standpoint, that ruins the league also. And just there's so much in question. And if I could be silly for a minute, Kawhi Leonard hasn't done a damn thing positive since he left San Antonio for
Toronto.
me. What a shot in Toronto! Great, it bounced and he got the look of the Irish,
Right.
and then they
And
got
then
it
KD
done
got
right.
hurt.
But who it seems like what Greg Popovich had to say about Kawhi Leonard on his exit, where he tried to keep his mouth closed, seems to be pretty accurate because he's really taken people down with him every step of the way since then.
Well, that's the funniest part about it is it's not like we've gotten like if you look at the great teams that have been put together, like the Miami Heat had to shed their entire roster to get those 3 stars. The Golden State Warriors needed the perfect combination of a massive spike in the salary cap and Steph Curry signing a massively below market value to add Kevin Durant. That's how we got our last 2 unbeatables, if you will. Because since that KD Warriors team, we have not had anybody repeat in that time. Since 17-18, when the Warriors went back to back, nobody has repeated since that championship. So you've gotten these teams that needed these very specific circumstances. And even by gaming the system, the Los Angeles Clippers have still advanced to 1 conference finals in which one of their players wasn't even playing and they were not a legitimate threat to win said conference finals. And they've done nothing with this roster except sign and lose Paul George, lose the MVP, the future MVP in the trade that got him there, and Kawhi Leonard, who can't stay healthy for more than a day. And the whole point of his was load management, and then the league comes out and says, yeah, our data says that it means absolutely nothing. So like the fact that this is the guy you went all in on, I think is like you gamed the system and you still didn't even win. Like you stacked the deck in your favor. You gave yourself an ace and a 9 at the blackjack table, and you still got beat by the dealer. Like help yourself out and actually do this thing, but they cheated and still failed. Like that's the ultimate. Like you can't even do it right.
Well, I mean, hey, to move it away from the SWBA for a second, and just to talk SimWorld prep, talk SimWorld U, and talk in the world of SimWorld. When you are not required to be strategic in your actions and your thoughts, you're just throwing chess pieces around, and it does not work. It does not automatically get you that. And just back to the Kawhi Leonard point, I mean, the poster boy, what you call class in the SWBA at one point in time is now this. What a fall, and
Right.
and don't blame it on the media. Just someone found out the information that was being hidden. But my God, Kawhi, my God.
We're about to wrap up. I have one question for you, and it has nothing to do with everything going on in the Kawhi Leonard world. In fact, which we don't normally do here, I have a question for you from the prep level. I was perusing the forums and seeing what everybody was talking. I know I'm not somebody who comments too much. I prefer to. I'm a lurker by nature when it comes to the forums.
Weird. Weird.
I talk here, but I can't talk there. It's I don't know, whatever. And I noticed that there were a couple of conversations going on, and Rick Blaze he sent out a tweet about it, and that's what kind of drew my attention to it. But all of these kids and adults, because there's coaches doing this as well, are just talking, and this feels like wave 3 of all these dudes talking nonstop and just talking game to one another, but yet it's always a flash in the pan and then it's gone. Like it was Benari James and Barkley James, and it was like, God, I can't wait for these guys to be quiet. And then they were quiet after like a year. And then it was, Deuce Turner, I think, was the next one that came in. I don't even hear from this kid anymore. And now I can't even remember who the names of people. I know that they're out there. I'm sorry that I don't know what your name is. I'm sure you might comment in this feed.
If you hang around enough, Marshall know your name. If he doesn't know your name, you haven't hung around enough.
Well, because it's flash in the pan. So I'm curious, what's going on right now? Because these dudes come out firing. It's like, pow, pow, pow. I'm the best. You suck. I'm the best. You suck. And then, like, do they get tired? Do they turn out to be the ones that suck? Because the number of dudes that I keep hearing from one another that, like, I'm going to, don't catch me in the air because catching bodies when you land type of bull crap. And I'm like, gosh, but none of these guys last. What's going on? What's going on?
It's 2025, Marsh. That's what it is. It's 2025. It is the era of hyperbolic. You can only be all the way left or all the way right. There is no in between. There is no, hey man, I'm out here just to play as give the best effort I can and try and win, or hey, I'm pretty good, or hey, I can't wait to see you on the court. I'm gonna beat you. No, I'm gonna smash you and your mom, and
right.
I'm gonna. Yeah, like it has to be so much. I say just leave it on the court. Talk after. At least say what you have to say after.
Right.
After you've shown what you need to show. But who am I? I'm an old head just for saying that, Marsh.
Right. And I mean, there's not a gray hair on your scalp that we can see right now. So it's barely there. I just find it fascinating. Like, we haven't seen any of these guys make it to the collegiate level. Like, it's only at the prep level they make it to college, and then suddenly it's buttoned up, and you don't hear anything from Benari James. You don't hear anything from Bart. Like, the only guy in college that we see talking smack is Cam Jones and his capital punctuation on every single word, and even that is, he's gonna talk smack and then he's gonna turn around and be like, just kidding, like, nice to see you. And it's like, which I'm a fan of that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's like, gee, like that's the amount of smack talk we get. Like, I don't know, they either get exposed or they just turn out that maybe the keyboard warriors are just not the actual warriors on the floor. So I'm just waiting for one of these guys to actually hit. Like, I need a J.R. Smith. I need a Michael Porter Jr., what he's doing in his offseason, where he's just talking smack about, like, literally everything. I need some of those guys to last more than a season of prep. I'm just waiting for it. I'm waiting for that guy to actually stick around long enough.
Can I do my version of what you're talking about? Can I do it just 1 second?
Please.
Because we're getting ready to close the show, right?
We are.
This has been the greatest episode ever of SimWorld today. Are we done?
Yeah, and every other co-host is garbage, and they can't hold a candle.
Trash. Show's over.
Yeah. See you later, Sniper. See you later, Siege, Rico, Rick. You guys suck. It's only yells. That's it. All right, we're back on Monday. Appreciate y'all tuning in here on SimWorld TV. Only place you can see the game, be the game.